Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Enigmatic Entertainment, back again with another video. And I hope this is going to be the first in a new series that I am, been thinking about, working on, so on and so forth, ironing things out in my mind and whatnot, you know the drill. So I've done video game reviews like every so often, things of that nature, but you guys know probably if you've seen some of my other videos that I do definitely love music, so I wanted to do an album review and see how it goes. Um, so this is gonna be the first one. Probably gonna be doing albums that I personally enjoy, classic albums, albums that I would like other people to hear as well, and just a way to express and share my feelings and opinions and whatnot. Which, once again, this is very subjective. This is gonna be my opinions and how I feel about the album, and I'm gonna be discussing the, you know, subject matter, lyrical content, things of that nature. Really what it's all about. So first album. This is going to be Kid Cudi's The Man on the Moon, The End of the Day. This was released in September 2009. This is a follow-up to his mixtape, A Kid Named Cudi. Kid Cudi is one of my favorite artists of all times. He raps, he sings, produces, things of that nature, Um, so this is going to be a track-by-track review, so I'm going to be starting from the very top, the first track on the album, to the bottom, doing the standard edition. And once again, if you want to recommend albums or anything like that, leave it in the comment section below. What you think about the album yourself, once again, leave it in the comment section below, and I will be checking it out. So let's jump right into it. Track number 1 is In My Dreams, in parentheses, is Cudder Anthem. Cudder is another nickname of Kid Cudi's and whatnot. So this is a kind of relaxing, kind of chilling track that starts the show and sets the mood for the titular man on the moon. He tells us, this album is his dream. He tells you, like, you're in my dreams now, so I can have whatever and everything I want and all of that. Basically, it's probably also an allusion to the album, has tracks on it that are nightmares, and also this album being his dream in the sense of he always wanted a debut studio album and so on and so forth, like a double entendre, rather. I think it's pretty cool. This is just an intro track. There's not much else to say about it. Common does narration on the album, and his narration starts with this track at the end. And he basically introduces it like some kind of like storybook, a biography, so to speak. It's like chapter 1. Kid Cudi is freaking awesome. So, yeah, I think Common is cool too. Nice touch to the album. He has the voice for narration, I feel like. And this is just an introduction, so I don't go back and listen to this. There's no like much enjoyment like musically or sonically that I would just be like, yeah, that track is cool. Just an intro. So moving on to the first real song on the album, Soundtrack 2, the number 2, My Life. It's self-explanatory. The title, the chorus, he talks about how this is a soundtrack to my life. He starts off by talking about, growing up with older siblings, feeling lonely, depression, paranoia, all these things that he struggled with throughout the years, especially as a child. In the chorus, he talks about, there's deep issues within him. He brings them out to the light to share with you guys, and I feel that it's very personable, very honest, lyrically, and that's one of the reasons that this is one of my favorite tracks on the album. I'd probably say it's one of my top 5 on the album, actually. Maybe like 4. I'd have to think about it where I'd exactly place it, but hey, you get the idea. He talks about suicidal thoughts closer to the end of the song and different coping methods for dealing with it and the other issues that plague his mind. The last line on the last verse says, "I am happy. That's just the saddest lie," and it's very relatable because it's like, yeah, we many of us have probably been there where we're like lying about being happy because we don't want people to like feel bad for us or pity us or think to get the wrong idea, or maybe it's a pride thing. Who knows? But I'm sure you've been there at certain points in your life. I know at least I have, so I can relate to Cudi and this instinct. Moving on, next up is track 3, Simple As. Title says it itself. Once again, it's self-explanatory, guys. It's a simple ass track. No, but it's a pretty simple track. It features a sample from a group called Maneuvers, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, rather, or OMD for short. And there's like a 1 2 3 1 2 3. We're getting kind of repetitive in the background, but it kind of fits. You know, a 1 2 3 is a very simple pattern of numbers that fits with the title of Simple As. It fits with the chorus where he's going, you know, simple as that, but you simple as. You know, I'm not the best singer or anything, but it all really ties together and makes sense lyrically. His subject matter is about being an outcast, dealing with haters, wanting to be someone children can look up to, and I respect that. I do. Simple, but sometimes it just needs to be said. And hey, this features once again narration by Common. Every few tracks there's narration. It's not every song, so I will be mentioning it on the tracks that do have it. This ends with narration by Common talking about how the hero, Kid Cudi, or Scott, or the Man on the Moon, is thrust into his nightmares and is probably preparing us for something that takes a darker turn thematically. This track, personal enjoyment as far as that goes. Another good track I can just bop my head to when it comes on, as most likely intended. Simple, enjoyable. Moving on is Solo Dolo, which is the first Nightmare on the album, and it's always in parentheses, so you can see for yourself. Darker twist production-wise, features a slowed-down sample of a song called The Traitor by Minahan Street Band. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Musically, it sounds like something you might find in a horror movie soundtrack or something like that. Like, it's kind of creepy and, like, slow and, like, what's going on, you know? Here, Kid Cudi refers to himself as Mr. Solo Dolo. And, you know, I don't know if he popularized the term, but Solo Dolo, as far as I've always known, just basically means you're solo, whether you're getting high or just chilled and relaxed and whatever. You know, I'm just Solo Dolo. So I can very much relate to that title once again myself. A lot of references once again to loneliness, feelings of not being able to do the right thing. Not much detail in certain things, but once again, this is a nightmare, and it is not always the most sensible or logical thing. So I understand it from an artistic or thematic point of view. Musically or sonically, or for my personal enjoyment it goes, I'm not the biggest fan of this track. It just doesn't hit me as far as like how it sounds production wise and whatnot as much as some of the other tracks really do. But once again, thematically I understand it and I'm not knocking it from an overall album standpoint what at all. Next up is Heart of a Lion, Kid Cudi theme music, and I freaking love this song. It's like a complete 180 from the previous one. This is where everything just fits and just meshes, and it's just like, ooh, the chorus, the verses, the production, the whole progression from chorus to verse to bridge and everything. It's just freaking awesome. I love it. I really do. I still find myself singing along to this song all the time when I'm playing it, especially in particular moments when I need a uplifting, inspirational, motivational freaking Kid Cudi song. This is the first one on my list. You know, it's cool because he starts the first two verses with please save the kid that needs some help, you know, and he delves into how mentally he's dealing with haters. Once again, why are so many freaking haters hating on Kid Cudi? I don't know. But talking about dark thoughts, feelings of sadness once again. The chorus, he talks about how his mother instilled this confidence in him to not let anybody break him, and how no one can stop him, and you know, all that stuff, just being confident and having high self-esteem and things of that nature, you know. Once again, a very motivational track. By the third verse, he switches it up, and that's why I like this storytelling and this progression. The third verse, he starts it off instead with the line, I'm just a kid who needs no help. So you say, please save the kid. But then he goes to, I'm just a kid who needs no help. So he's grown, he's matured, he's gotten the courage or whatever it is that he needs to continue on and to get better and improve, which I truly admire and respect, and something that we can all learn from, Once again, it ties into the heart of a lion. Lion could be a Wizard of Oz reference, because the cowardly lion in the Wizard of Oz wanted courage, but the man told him, I believe that you have courage in you all along, it's in your heart. So it's like heart of a lion, cowardly lion, the Wizard of Oz, I'm just a kid who needs no help, all that stuff. So it kind of like meshes once again in together to make a cool reference, even if he wasn't intending on doing that. But you know what I mean? For people to be able to think like that, or maybe it's just me, I don't know, but probably not. Easily one of the top 3 tracks on the album, one of my favorite Kid Cudi songs of all time, without a doubt. Next up is My World, as Cudi bringing you into his world, as the title says. He reminisces about his childhood. He talks about situations. In the first verse, he talks about his childhood, like growing up, losing his father at a young age. I believe he was 11 years old. I think he references that in another song of his. Going to school, growing up, trying to meet women, impressing them, playing sports, things of that nature, having low self-esteem. A lot of issues that probably a lot of us can relate to. I know myself that I can relate to most of that stuff. On the chorus, he tirelessly reassures the audience that it will be his world one day, alluding to gaining the successes that he hopes for and struggles for, and hopefully soon enough he will have them. Continuing into the second verse, he's now a little older, has different issues, such as wondering when he's going to be successful, the many jobs he's had, and the bosses he's had to put up with. Kind of the typical artist story that many aspiring artists and whatnot go through when having their music career or whatever their artistic endeavor is, on as a side hustle or whatnot, and really just having to put up with a 9 to 5 to fund their dreams and their living arrangements for the time being. Once again, this follows the theme, and hey, another good track, pretty inspirational. I find myself going back to it at times. Probably one of my more listened to tracks on the album, actually. This will be my world, I told you so. Check it out, guys. It's freaking awesome. Next up is Day and Night. In the parentheses, Nightmare is the second Nightmare on the album, rather. I don't really need to say much about this song, probably. This is Kid Cudi's breakthrough single. This introduced him to the mainstream hip-hop listener, and probably people outside of the genre as well. This made him, I don't know, I don't want to call him a pop star or anything like that. I don't know, but it brought him a lot higher up on a visibility standpoint. One of my favorite songs by him, another one of my favorite tracks on the album. Who doesn't know that classic chorus talking about the lonely stoner, day and night, and all that stuff, getting high alone. Once again, solo Dolo. This is actually from his mixtape, A Kid Named Cudi, which was released in 2008, so the previous year. I recommend listening to that mixtape too, by the way. It still fits with the content of this album as well, though. And I remember listening to this song back in 2009 or 2008, whenever it hit the radio, really. I probably was fresh out of high school around there or something like that. It's like a theme song of sorts, for me, or back then at least, without the stoner part. And this is one of my favorite Cudi songs, and what else to say about it, Next up is Sky Might Fall. Kid Cudi lamenting, talking about rainstorms and gray clouds that bog his mind. This time, there's a little bit more confidence or faith and whatnot that things will be alright, regardless of the trouble that he finds himself going through. Again, he mentions weed as a coping method, his dreams as a way to escape, and escapism is something that is talked about a lot in ways on this album. Again, this is a track with a chorus that can be seen as an anthem. And there's a quote from Kid Cudi that I would like to quote to you in regards from an interview of his that he did, I believe, about this album in particular. Each song is a message. All the hooks are stadium-worthy, crowds sing along, powerful joints that I can't wait for the people to hear in stadium magnitude. And this is one of the songs where I feel like that rings true the most. Please do check out the chorus of Sky Might Fall. Remember that I highly recommend it. One of my favorite, probably one of my, but probably one of the more hard hitting choruses that you probably want to hear in like a stadium or whatnot. Really. Um, Next up is Entergalactic. In parentheses, Love Connection Part 1. This is awesome. Another one of my favorites. Another one of my top 3 tracks on the album, probably. One of the more upbeat tracks. Kind of sounds like some 70s disco, even with a mix of hip hop in it. It's quite the turn from the previous tracks. A little bit more upbeat in a way. He sings to this woman about taking mushrooms and having a psychedelic trip. And if you had to pick a track that was going to be like the poppy track, the dance track, the things of that nature, it would be this one for sure. This one I remember singing and dancing to, like Intergalactic you and me, Intergalactic you and me. I can't freaking sing worth a damn apparently, but yeah, it's freaking awesome. It really is. If there was like a love song, this would be it. As you can see, Love Connection. This also starts the second half of the album. Once again, if you're listening to the standard edition. And it's a fun break from the more heavy subject matter of the rest of the album. And this is another one of those songs that has narration from Common at the end. And unfortunately, as of yet, there is no Love Connection Part 2, but hopefully there will be soon. Next up is Alive, which is another nightmare. And then he speaks of like a metaphorical change, so to speak, of changing into a beastly form. It's like a night out in the town. He talks about the moon shining, coming alive. He talks about like women, soothing his loneliness, like at least temporarily. I guess just like being with him for the night and moving on to the next one. And how that's not the health. I guess, to me at least, it's not the healthiest way to be living. I guess that's why it's a nightmare. First 2 verses, he kind of sounds a little bit pained even. And, it really sounds like there's pain in his voice, like he's really transforming into that beast. So I think that was done intentionally. And then in the 3rd verse, he sounds back to normal. He's spitting a verse talking about being the lone wolf. I am the lone wolf, go where I wanna, and whatnot. And just accepting things for what they are, just like, hey, I am who I am. I'm doing what I need to do to cope with and get by and stuff like that. Is how it comes across to me. And it's a good song. A little bit more upbeat than some of the like first few tracks, really. And Alive. So good track, definitely. I definitely enjoyed it. Cudi Zone is next, and Cudi, you are now entering the Cudi Zone. Like imagine just a freaking announcer in your video games, like, you are entering the Cudi Zone, people. Please be aware. There will be massive amounts of marijuana and hums. So, Cudi raps 2 pretty long verses talking about leaving his hometown, making it big. I believe he moved from Cleveland to like Brooklyn, New York to like focus on his music career. He talks about old friends, talks about, blunts, staying high, staying in the zone, the Cudi Zone. The chorus kind of sounds like a stoner's dream, just being high, happy, feeling peaceful, just okay and content with how things are. Like, yo, I'm cool. You know what I mean? The production backing him here sounds a little bit more upbeat than some earlier things. Kind of sounds like a victory anthem. And it's just like, yeah, Cudi, you did it, man. You reached your zone. I'm glad. Like, he's happy, and that's all he's in. Easily another standout track. Probably one of the more traditional hip hop sounding production on the album. And next up is Make Her Say I Poke Her Face. So this was released as the 2nd single from the album. I do not really like this track. If I just don't I don't go back to this at all. I haven't listened to this song, and I haven't put this song on myself in years. I might have heard it like accidentally before, like on the radio or something like that, but I don't enjoy this track. This track and the introduction are the only ones I actually removed from my hard drive. I came back specifically to listen to this just for this review. That's really it. It features Kanye West on the 2nd verse and Common on the 3rd verse. They're the only rap feature. No. There's one more rap feature besides them. but they're two of the three rap features on the album. The verses weren't bad or anything like that. I just don't feel like the song fits. It has a feature from Lady Gaga, Poker Face. It's really repetitive in the background with that sample. The song is about oral sex, which is freaking great, honestly, but it just doesn't fit this album. I didn't need that on this album. I didn't really need that from Kid Cudi, really. This is one of the only songs that I feel like didn't even thematically fit. I don't understand why it was on there besides to be a single, and in that case, it still doesn't make sense because this was the second single and it didn't do nearly as well commercially wise as Day and Night did. But once again, I wouldn't say it's like horrible or like the worst Kid Cudi song ever. It just doesn't fit to me, and I'm just gonna move on because I don't want to just I don't want it to be like that. So next up is Pursuit of Happiness, and this was the third and final single released from the album. I like this one a lot better than the second. I like this a lot better than Make Her Say. Not as much as Day and Night probably, but pretty close. Kid Cudi sings melodically, belting out lyrics about pursuing happiness, kind of like the Will Smith movie. I do enjoy this one myself. Features one of the more unique instrumentals, I'd say. In contrast to that, he's singing about things like night terrors, cold sweats, driving drunk. Not stuff I'd recommend at all. I have a thing against drunk driving personally. But once again, this one is much more fitting with the overall theme of the album. And this is another one of the nightmares and the last, fourth and final nightmare on the album. There's two more tracks, and first one is Hyyerr. Now, as you could tell, okay, this song is also spelled Hyyerr rather than the regular Hyyerr spelling. It features the only other rap verse, King Chip, aka Chip the Ripper, a longtime collaborator of Kid Cudi, and he does the chorus too, and I thoroughly enjoy this song. It's another one of the probably top 5 on the album for me, I'd say. And it's a calm, relaxing instrumental, nice chorus. But it's getting high. Can you get me higher and higher and higher? It's like, how high you want to freaking get, man? I don't know. You can put this on when you have your substance of choice, and you just want to relax. The placement of the album is quite fitting as it precedes one of the last nightmare, actually. Good song, another personal favorite of mine, another personal favorite Cudi song and song on the album. One of my go-to stoner joints too. Next up, last but not least, is Up, Up and Away. Final track on the album. Great finisher. Features a very friendly, upbeat, up-tempo instrumental, kind of more friendly and poppy sounding a little bit. And Cudi just sings about being a bit happier. Sounds a little bit more confident with his tone, his lyrical content and whatnot. And the chorus, he repeats like, he's going to keep his head up. He's going to keep on going because people are going to judge him anyway. Some of us have not reached that level of confidence and whatnot to just be like, screw it. But apparently Cudi has in this song, so I'm really glad because I am still trying to reach that level of they're going to judge me anyway, so whatever and stuff. I'm trying. It's not very easy whatsoever. But it can be a little bit inspirational and whatnot, and very relatable for me. So this is also probably another analogy for how high he's gonna get. Like he's up, like really high and stoned, and he's up, like keeping his head up and not being held down by the people, and away, just like get away from the haters and whatnot, which he has mentioned a few times in the album. This is the last song on the album. It's already standard edition, so this is also the last song that features narration from Common, and he basically tells the listeners that there's going to be a new journey. The Man on the Moon is going to be taking a new journey, guys, which is possibly alluding to a new album, which we did get the next year with Man on the Moon 2, which I might be covering later on. And it's overall a pretty happy sounding song. I recommend it if you need a mood lifter, especially after some of the dark content that was in earlier parts of the album, you know what I mean? And that's it. That is Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon, The End of Day. This is one of my top 10 probably albums of all time. Top 2 Kid Cudi album for me, and I just really like it. It's a twist on the typical like hardcore hip hop and things of that nature. It's pretty alternative. There is a bit of, like he sings on close to half these songs. He's singing and doing his traditional hums and whatnot. But of course, he does rap, and when he does do it quite well. I feel like it's not the most lyrically dense or complex album, um, as far as intricate bars and wordplay. But that is not always necessary when you could simply and artistically, creatively get your point across. Um, it's a lot more easier to understand on that kind of level. It does deal with very heavy topics though, such as depression, suicide, and things of that nature. So some of the tracks are a little bit more positive, but it can be very dark and not the easiest thing to listen to, and it is not the easiest thing to recommend to others, especially if they're not into alternative hip hop at all. I definitely would recommend giving it a listen at least. If anything, at least listen to the singles, because between the three of them, you will get a very good feeling for what the album is about, I'd say. And this is just one of my favorite albums ever. I really do like it. There was not many negatives I have to say about it. Really, besides the few things I mentioned with those 2 or 3 tracks and whatnot. And the deluxe edition has 3 extra songs on it. You can check those out if you want. I haven't heard them. One of them features Wale on it, though. I have read. And that's it. Leave a comment in the comment section below if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Let me know what you think about Kid Cudi. Let me know what you think about the Man on the Moon album and any of his other albums. And if any other albums you'd like to see me review, just let me know. I check the comments and I do respond in a timely manner as best as I can. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Click the thumbs up button if you like the video. It all helps and is all appreciated. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. I know I can have a tendency to ramble, especially when it comes to stuff like this that I love so freaking much. But I do have passion about it. I'm just very freaking tired, This whole situation that we're still in is quite demoralizing with the quarantine, the lockdown, and whatnot. So I'm just going to leave it at be safe, stay hygienic, and just be good, guys. Be safe, and stay tuned for more, and keep fighting, keep hope alive, and thank you. That's Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon, The End of Day. I'm out.